One of these days I'm going to get an anagram out of one of these choices. Hey, and welcome to a Thursday collection connection, where we're not buying any of your excuses, unless it's an excuse to talk about records. In Eric's last video on Monday, he played Radiohead's King of Limbs, not one of the Radiohead albums, that I've played a whole lot. I have all their albums, but sort of as time went on, they became less and less in rotation. And King of Limbs certainly falls into that category for me. I do enjoy the single Lotus Flower, and in the directions that I didn't go, in my head, the video for Lotus Flower was a one-shot of Thom Yorke dancing. And so I was thinking about connecting it to like the Black Keys, Lonely Boy, which is a one-shot video of some guy dancing, or maybe Corner Shop's Brimful of Asha, which in my mind was also a one-shot of someone kind of dancing while they listened to the record. But then putting on the video, I realized, or not realized, I was disabused of the notion, because it is not even close to a one-shot, even though it is just Thom Yorke dancing. So I didn't do that. I also did not connect to Talking Heads. It's a fairly common piece of trivia that Radiohead took their name from the song Radiohead by Talking Heads, but I don't actually have the True Stories album that song came from. So I decided not to do that, even though, again, going back to the Lotus Flower video, I kind of could have gone for bizarre dance moves and the Once in a Lifetime video. But instead, what I decided to do, Eric referred several times to the from the basement version, sort of a live version of the King of Limbs, and how much he enjoyed that and thought it was even superior to the album. I'm less familiar with those versions, but I am aware that they followed up the King of Limbs with a remix album. All the tracks remixed, one even by Caribou, who we have discussed previously on the channel. And that is, at least in the kind of music that I listen to, not a common thing. A remix album dedicated to a single album. Certainly I have remix albums like The Cure's Mixed Up, or the Talk Talk, totally unauthorized remix album that Mark Hollis hated. But I have it, but those draw from multiple singles. They're mostly focused on the singles. This was sort of an every track on the album remix album. And so what I decided to connect to was another album that was followed up by a remix album of the same material. And that is, let's see, Erasure's The Circus. This was Erasure's second album, and sort of, I think of it as the pinnacle of the Vince Clarke sound that he pioneered with Depeche Mode on their first album before leaving and then forming Yaz or Yazoo, depending on what side of the Atlantic you live on. And then going on to, after a couple other side projects, form Erasure, which ended up being a very long-lasting project. But the Circus sort of still has the sound that feels very primitive early synths, just kind of catchy, hooky synth pop, not really rich or deep or complicated arrangements, lots of arpeggios. And I think it's where they really nailed that sort of early sound, even though Wonderland they scored some hits right out of the bat, I think, with like Who Needs Love Like That. The songs from this album, The Circus, are the first real classic, like Sometimes and Victim of Love are just perfect synth pop. Try that again. They are perfect synth pop singles, and the whole album really holds together. It's a very strong album. The remix album, which I am also holding here, called the Two Ring Circus, actually doesn't include every last song on there. There's one track called Sexuality that is not on the Two Ring Circus, but every other track is remixed on there. This actual copy is one of the first two CDs that I ever bought. And both of them being Erasure albums. I bought Wonderland on CD for the bonus tracks that were on it, or maybe even just a single bonus track now, I'm trying to remember. And I bought them about the time that this came out in, what was this, 1988? 87. So 1987. And I got them a good deal before I had any means to play any CDs. So I had these CDs in my collection just waiting on something to play them on, which we eventually got in our house a stereo system that had a CD. And then by the time for my graduation, what I wanted for my graduation present was a new stereo that had a CD player in it. And that was in 1990 that I got my own CD player. But so anyway, so this is that album, the copy that I bought, that I've had since 1987. This I bought a couple times. I had it on CD. This is a kind of a clunky packaging. They've gotten a lot more streamlined, but they have been reissuing Erasure's back catalog every couple of years. A new album. They're up to I Say was the most recent one that they put out, and after Wonderland and the Circus, the packaging got a lot more streamlined and nice. And these are the only two. This and Wonderland are the two big chunky 2-disc CD cases. The only ones that I bought in years and years and years. But it's a great album. Hideaway is a song that's sort of their small town boy, Lebronsky beat. You know, it's kind of a young gay man trying to come out and not fall out with his family. Spiraling was a track that moved me a lot when I was young. I thought it was a very deep track. It's maybe I feel a little defensive of that now, so I don't think as much of it because I'm embarrassed of what teenage me thought of it. But the Circus title track is great, and most of the album is really good. Don't Dance is just kind of again, a lot of them are sort of vaguely coded about, I think, being gay in the 80s, when it was not quite as, not nearly as easy and open to do. But I think that may be all I have to say. I'm sure I've already gone over my 5 minutes. So, yeah, I will throw Erasure, who we haven't talked about, but I am one of the few people who continued buying Erasure albums past the early 90s. And I keep buying all the new ones that come out. They're very hit and miss, but in my opinion. But they've had some great albums since their heyday. But this was an early favorite. I think this was my favorite album until their album Chorus came out, and that kind of replaced it as my favorite Erasure album. So anyway, and as Eric may mention, he had the first two. So he introduced me to Erasure, and I think he picked up on Wonderland either after or right about the time that the Circus came out. So he had both of them, it felt to me like in my memory, very quickly, one after another. And then I was the one who went out and bought The Innocents, and I kind of kept on that synth pop train, and I think he kind of dropped off until very recently acquiring a copy of The Innocents on vinyl. Anyway, you can look for Eric's response on his channel, where he is Plastic Eric, on the Plastic Soundwave Cult channel. He should have his response on Monday. And I will see you around again next Thursday, hopefully. We play back and forth. We're connecting titles to each other's music collections as just kind of a way to keep in touch with each other and have a little fun and talk about music, which we do anyway. So look for that on Monday. And if you made it all the way to the end, I thank you for watching. Bye-bye.